The objective of a short field takeoff is to take off in the shortest possible distance and clear obstacles at the end of the runway. A normal takeoff of this airplane does not use flaps, but in this case we're using flaps to give us the extra lift we'll need. At the holding point, we're going to stop and check configuration settings and instruments. And we're going to scan for runway traffic and traffic that could be arriving or departing before we leave this point. Instead of rolling out for a normal takeoff, we're going to apply brakes and hold them at the runway threshold and run up the engine to full power and then release the brakes. When we reach 60 miles an hour, we're going to be lifting off in a much different way than a normal takeoff. It's going to be more vertical. Getting light. There she goes. Reaching a positive rate of climb is time to put the flaps up to get rid of the drag. Then pitch the wing to the best rate of climb, 85 miles an hour. This runway is over a mile long, but I once had to make a short field takeoff technique because of construction where they had half of the runway closed off. Many bigger airplanes could not, were trapped, but with the short field technique, it was doable. For the biennial flight review by a flight instructor, you have to demonstrate these techniques. Once I landed at a remote airstrip that was dirt and that was more sloped than I thought. It looked a little iffy. So what I ended up doing was pacing the whole length of the strip and determining the center where I tied my t-shirt to a bush along the center point. Plan B was doing a short field takeoff and observing the t-shirt. If it was not in my sight by the time the wheels were starting to lift off, Plan C was to cut the power and hit the brakes. Good flight planning involves looking at an airport directory and to see what the length of the field is. Then you've got to know the altitude, and you've also got to determine the density altitude, which depends on air temperature, and that affects the kind of a field you can use, the length you can use. Density altitude and altitude affect the performance of the wing and the engine. At this altitude, and it's about 4,000 feet on the ground here, you've only got about 80% of the engine power available.